Hello, Find My Ancestry friends. This is Evan. I'm a self-taught family tree researcher for the past 16 years. And this is my channel, Find My Ancestry, where I teach people how to find their ancestors the way I have using the tips and tricks I've learned along the way. I'm going to move the camera up a little bit here. Okay, so today's video is going to be all about how to find your ancestors using email. So in the last video, I talked about how to find your ancestors using eBay. And this week, I'm going to talk to you about finding your ancestors using another underrated source, email. So stay tuned for the end, where I am giving away a free email template that you can use to find your ancestors using email as well. So when I say finding your ancestors using email, what do I mean? I've been under the weather. That's why my voice sounds terrible. Obviously, you can't actually email your ancestors, though that would be really cool if you could. Rather, what I'm going to encourage you to do in today's video is reach out to actual people in physical locations to ask your questions. And I know that sounds maybe obvious to some of you, but I think a lot of the best family history questions and answers are the answers to the questions can be obvious because they're just overlooked things. Especially now because there's so much on the internet. It can be so easy to kind of get bogged down using just the traditional big sites like Ancestry.com, Family Search, newspapers.com, and to fall into the trap of thinking that everything that there is to be found is available on those sites. They do have a ton of stuff. They might even have most of everything. But there's a lot of things that are only available in person, especially in countries that are not America, like not the United States. So, and even in America, there are a lot of things that are just in person. Yeah, that the truth is there is just a lot out there that hasn't been indexed or put online. And that is where reaching out to a real person who does have access to that stuff in, physical access to it can help you. And I'm going to give you two examples from my own research today to show you times where, and examples where emailing a real person helped me really get some cool stuff that I would never have found on the internet because it's not on the internet, hasn't been made available there yet. So the first example, and this is so cool, is related to my maternal great-grandmother. I grew up only seeing pictures of her as a very old woman wearing dark cat-eye sunglasses, her face kind of obscured, and very old. I mean, like late 80s to when she passed away in her early 90s. I think maybe the youngest picture I had of her prior to this, she was in her mid 60s, maybe. I really wanted to know what she looked like as a young woman. I always heard she was very beautiful, but I didn't have any luck on any of the traditional sites like the ones I just mentioned. But I did know, which was a little unusual for a woman of her time, she actually attended college. So my great-grandmother, this one was born in 1894 in Kentucky, and she attended what was Hamilton College, is now called Transylvania University. So I found the website for Transylvania University, and I looked on their archives website online, and I didn't find what I was looking for, but I did find the email for the person who works as the archivist for Transylvania University. And I emailed this person, and I explained what I was looking for. I gave her my great-grandmother's name. Her name was Ida Mae Gopher. The years I thought she had attended, I was guessing like 1910 to 1914, but I saw that she had stopped attending college around age 16, so I wasn't exactly sure when she actually would have been there. Excuse me, my throat's dry. I wanted to know if any of the yearbooks that they had in the archives would contain a picture of her. At the time, my grandmother, her daughter, was still living, so I really wanted to show my grandma a young picture of her mother. So I sent the email, really didn't want to get my hopes up, so I just kind of forgot about it. And then it was just a day or two later that this person emailed me back. And she sent a few images from the Hamilton College yearbook, which was called The Crimson. And the archivist said that unfortunately there was no individual shot of her with her name on it, but there was a picture of the entire class. and her name was listed under it. So obviously, I didn't know what she looked like at that age. Even her own mother, I'm not, didn't know what she looked like at that age, my grandmother. But I distributed this picture around to my family and other family members. And I even did this trick online where I used canva.com. I put this young picture, the one we thought might have been her, and I transposed a pair of the glasses that she always wore later in her life, the really dark cat eye sunglasses, on it. And we were able to immediately figure out who she was in this picture. So the resemblance to several women in my family was very uncanny. My mom and one of my cousins specifically. And so this picture was a little blurry that she gave me. I was able to upload it to myheritage.com. They have a really neat free photo tool. I think it's free for a couple images. It was free for my purposes because I just did the one picture. I was able to repair the photo, make it less blurry, and I was also able to colorize it. Now it did change her eye color a bit, but it's very close to her eye color. She had blue eyes. It made him look kind of hazel, but it was close. She was very beautiful, and it was cool to see this woman who's kind of like a larger than life figure in my family, kind of like the matriarch on my mom's side, what she looked like as a young girl. So I'm going to hopefully figure out a way to put this picture like up here on the screen to show you. Ida Mae Gopher, who was born in 1894 in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, and lived a long, eventful, busy, family-filled life and passed away in 1985 in Indianapolis, in the house with her daughter and some family in it. So that's really cool, and I was just very excited to get that picture, and also not just the picture, but the archivist was able to tell me that the years she attended college, which would have been 1911 to 1912, and that helped me kind of fill in some other gaps in her life. So, needless to say, that was a really exciting discovery, one that pleased my family members. And at the time, my grandma, her daughter, was still living. So I was able to show her this picture, and that was really cool. Her eyesight wasn't that great at the time, but she got a kick out of it, I think. So that was well worth the 10 or 15 minutes it took me to find the name for this archivist and send her an email. And maybe she wouldn't email, maybe someone won't email you back. If that's all you have to lose, like 10 or 15 minutes to find an email, it's not the end of the world. And again, I'm going to give you a template for an email to send people at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. This experience taught me the value of not just reaching out to someone to ask my questions, but just kind of thinking outside the box in general and not just always focusing so much on using all the great online tools that we have today. Success isn't guaranteed, obviously, but you never know until you ask. So I have another really fun example, and this one actually just happened to me. And it's related kind of to the same ancestor, or at least her family. So unfortunately, my great-grandmother's mom died 5 days after giving birth to her in 1894. Very common at the time. I am sure it was due to some infection or something along those lines. Pretty sure doctors were not even washing their hands back then. So no one in my family, needless to say, really knew anything about this woman, whose name was also Ida. Her name was Ida Alice Doherty. But I have always thought that was really sad, like how little we know about her, especially considering we basically all owe our lives to this woman who was just barely 22 years old when she died. Excuse me one more time. I knew from my research she was from a large, pretty prominent family in Pendleton County, Kentucky. I had pretty much exhausted the research on her and her family on the typical sites, the ones I mentioned before. But since she died young, and because the 1890 census was destroyed in a fire, so she was born around 1870, died around 1894, you take away the 1890 census for someone like that, wow, that really limits, obviously what is available. I had very few records on her, and I wanted to change that. So I found the email for a person from the Pendleton County Historical Society, and I inquired about her surname of Doherty, because I knew it was a huge, prominent farming family. For example, I think she had like 10 siblings her dad had like 19 siblings. That is a lot of Doherty. So I knew there had to be something out there. I can't be the only person interested in this research. So I explained who I was, what I was looking for, and why I was interested in it. Not only did this person email me back, but she said the files they had on the Doherty family were so large that they had been put into a CD format, and she would put one in the mail for me. So I did pay for this. I mailed them a check. It was like $10 plus shipping. I mean, well worth it. Pretty much priceless information in my opinion. So this CD is from a larger selection of work called the Barton Papers, which was a project by a Kentucky attorney named Barton, who did extensive research putting together the history of a few families of Pendleton, Kentucky. And this contained not just a few pages about the Doherty family, there were over 300 pages of documents. I mean, of course, my specific person I was interested in wasn't on each one, but these were her relatives. I was able to find Ida's mother, Ida, on a few of them, her grandfather on several, and break through some brick walls in this huge family that have kind of plagued me for years. The men in the Doherty family were all named very similarly. You had your Johns, your Joseph, your James, repeated over and over and over in these families that were having 10 to 20 kids apiece, generation after generation. It gets very unwieldy. So they were starting to go by nicknames. So all these years I'd heard about people like Black Joe Doherty, who was a blacksmith, Bristle Jim, who was my great-great-grandfather, Pony Jim, Slick Jim, like a million different Jims that you only know who's who by the nickname. And because there were marriage records and parenting records, like I could finally figure out who is Pony Jim, how is he related to my Jim. So that was really cool. And this CD just really helped me connect the dots and kind of solve these problems I've been having for years. So if you're wondering about the CD format, I mentioned this in my last video, but I was able to get these in a readable format on my MacBook by putting the CD into an old HP laptop that I borrowed from a family member. And then I transferred those into a flash drive that I then plugged into my MacBook. It's a really simple process, and again, more than worth the effort that it took. So I hope this video showed you how important it is to reach out with your questions to a real living person. Of course, you might not find what you're looking for, but remember with genealogy, as in I guess everything in life, no is also an answer. Maybe you're looking in the wrong place. Maybe you're asking the wrong question. You're looking for the wrong person, the wrong time period. Maybe if you did a little research, you'd find that, for instance, the courthouse was destroyed in a fire. That was really common back in the 19th century. Courthouses and like tons of records would be destroyed and lost in fires. So that might be an issue that you run into. And then you'll know, okay, I need to look for an alternate source for this area and time period. But the important thing is to keep asking and not give up. I used email as an example in this video. I don't mean to be clickbaity, but of course this applies to phone calls and in-person visits as well, taking a family history research trip. Maybe you have somewhere that's just an hour or two near you that you could drive and go in person and actually hold the files and papers in your hands and look through them that way. And of course, in our day and age, I think email is just about as effective as anything. People check their email pretty frequently, and it doesn't cost any gas money or phone bill to send an email. So sometimes people don't know what to say when reaching out via email to a stranger. It's kind of a stress-inducing thing for some people. Not me, I'm very extroverted. So what I thought I would do is create a free template for you to use. You can just click the link in the video description, and I will send that to you. It'll put you on my newsletter, and I will send that to you as kind of a free gift for joining the newsletter. You can customize it to suit your needs. Just copy and paste the text into your email, and I hope it takes the anxiety out of reaching out to ask your questions to someone you've never met before. So I would like to know, have you ever reached out like I did and found something interesting about your own family tree? If so, please leave it in the comments. I just want to thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing and for the great positive feedback on my last video, especially after not doing a video for a really long time. I appreciate it. And sorry again, I'm just under the weather a little bit. That's why I sound like this today. I hopefully will sound better next time. It's my intent to try and do one of these a week as time and my schedule permits. So thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and happy hunting. I hope you find everything and everyone that you're looking for. Until next time, bye-bye.